Hey again, guys. Do you know what I like to do when I get back from the gym? I like to look at some baseball cards and do a response for Dustin and Blake. And they want us to come up with our all-time defensive team. Now, I know a lot of people are going to go through and just go down that list of gold gloves, but I'm going to be a little different because I tend to march to my own drummer. And I have my own opinion on things. You know, I'm one of those guys that thinks war's stupid. And heck, it's not even a standardized way to do it. But I don't know. I was looking at the war numbers and there's like, I don't know. I don't get it. Like Chet Lemon's above Hank Greenberg. And Adrian Beltre's above Jimmy Fox. Just doesn't seem to make sense to me. It's like 200 guys in front of Ichiro. All right, so let me make my response. I'm going to go around the horn. I'm going to start off with everybody knows who I'm taking in right field, and that's just a no-brainer for me, and that's Roberto Clemente. There were several great players in center field defensively, and many great defensive center fielders, but I got to go with Willie Mays. Sure, he'll be the center fielder on most teams. Now, my left fielder is going to create a bunch of controversy, and I'll bet I'm the only one that picks him. I'm going with Starling Marte. Now, Starling Marte was a natural center fielder, but because the Pirates had Andrew McCutchen, they moved him to left. And I would always say he's probably the best defensive left fielder to ever play, because usually they don't put a really great defensive outfielder in left. Now, the Pirates had another young prospect, and his name is escaping me. It was something like Hernandez or Henderson. And at the time, he was also a center fielder. And he came up for a short stint, and he was supposed to be the best fielder of the three, but he couldn't hit. And at one time, they played in the outfield together, and the Pirates had 3 starting center fielders in the outfield. And that's potentially the fastest outfield of all time. Although the outfield with Vince Coleman and Willie McGee and Andy Van Slyke in St. Louis might have been the fastest, but certainly one of the fastest. But I'm going with Starling Marte in left. And I challenge anybody to give me a better fielder in left field. And I watched a lot of Barry Bonds. I see people naming him. I'm still going with Starling Marte. I don't think that Bonds had that good of an arm. Or the range that this guy had making the diving catches. So I'm going with him. Okay, at third base, I got to go with the human vacuum. At shortstop, another controversial pick. Like Ozzie Smith, who everybody's going to pick, this guy couldn't hit either. And it's Willie Miranda. That's my defensive shortstop. Tommy Lasorda said he was the best shortstop he ever saw. And at second base, and I don't know how anybody doesn't pick this guy. And that's Bill Mazzorowski. Led the league in assists more times than any other second baseman in history. And at first base, I got to go with the number 1 Gold Glove winner at first, and that's Keith Hernandez. And at pitcher, probably a lot of people will take him to Greg Maddox. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think Greg Maddox has the most Gold Gloves of any position in history. I think so. And another controversial pick, but I watched him play. And I want to say, when I look at the greatest players, I'm not the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not about longevity for me. You know, I mean, I'm watching Pujols put up all these numbers. But, you know, I think he would have probably retired 5 years ago if there wasn't a DH. Like, he's adding to all his totals. But let's be frank, if he was playing in the last 5 years, nobody would be raving about him. It wasn't particularly great with the Angels, but So for me, it's not about longevity, but it's about how great they were in their prime, more for me. And I watched this guy, and I just was mesmerized with what a great defensive catcher he was when he came up with my Pittsburgh Pirates. And that was Tony Pena. And I'm probably the only person to pick Tony Pena. And I apologize if my Pujols comments were offend anybody, because I was a huge Pujols fan. And no disrespect, one of the game's greatest. When he and Ichiro came up, as soon as I saw him, I just thought he was an amazing player. It's just, there are some great players like Sandy Koufax who only played 10 years versus Nolan Ryan, who played 20 or 21 years. He played twice as long. And I've always had a little bit of a problem with the longevity thing for baseball, because, they'll put a guy like Harold Baines in because he had a very long career and put up solid numbers, was consistent throughout the years. But at no point in baseball history, at no point during his entire playing career, was he considered one of the top 10 or 20 or maybe even 30 best players ever. Unlike a Dave Parker, who's not in the Hall of Fame, who was at one time considered the greatest player. So that's where I'm coming from with that. So anyway, it was fun to watch Pujols pitch the other night, wasn't it? And I guess he just passed Eddie Collins on the all-time hit list. So we'll see how long he can play. Kind of exciting to watch. So that's what I have for you tonight. Dustin and Blake, thanks for the contest. And as always, thanks for watching.